Ghosts, spirits, poltergeists, demons. Do they exist? Is there life after life? Are there unseen entities around us? Can they communicate? Do you believe? What happens in the shadows doesn't always stay in the shadows. Live from Northwest Georgia, covering the region and beyond, this is Georgia Paranormal Radio. And now, here is your host, Mike Watkins.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Georgia Paranormal Radio. This is your host, Mike Watkins, and tonight we're going to have a special show for you. We're going to be talking about EVP, and with me tonight is my team's EVP Specialist and Operations Manager, David Westbrooks.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome, David. We've been wanting to have you on here for quite a while, and tonight you brought some EVP with you that hopefully will be interesting for the listeners here, and I think we've got about a dozen or so for you to play of various classes. And right now we're going to just get right into this and talk about what got you into the paranormal, David.
I've always believed in the paranormal ever since I was a small child growing up. We actually had a situation occur in our house a little over a year ago where me and my wife knew that we had some type of unexplained events going on. And as a last resort, we took a tape recorder, turned it on, actually done a little bit of walking around in the room, and ended up the very first EVP, very first voice that I've got was from my own house. And ever since then, it set me and my wife Cindy on fire.
So you actually had a paranormal event happen in your house, and that's what got you started into the paranormal field, right?
That's correct. Actually, it's centered around our children that live in the house. A lot of nightmares, a lot of dreams, a lot of imaginary friends. And one thing that you'll find out in the field of paranormal investigation is that sometimes the imaginary friends are not so imaginary.
I've heard that before, and that's often true, especially with younger children. And then you get into some more poltergeist activity sometimes.
That's correct. Once they start reaching the age of puberty and other environmental things going also, you can risk a poltergeist activity, which is actually emanated from the child itself. They just don't know that they're doing it.
Mm. So you had this paranormal event. You take out your recorder. You get an EVP.
Actually, we got several EVPs.
So you got several EVPs. How did you feel knowing that was going on around you?
The very first one that we got was in a little hallway into our bedroom, and Sandy, my wife, and my sister-in-law were in the bedroom, and you just don't know how crazy I felt walking around the house with a microphone or with a tape recorder in my hand and trying to get somebody that's not physically there to say something so that you know they're there. But once I got back in the bedroom and sat down on the bed and played the tape, and we heard a voice that was not either of ours, knowing that it came from some other place other than a living being in our home, we basically just sat there for a few minutes looking at each other in shock and not knowing what actually to believe. And then again, we done another session where I walked through the house. This time when I was in the kitchen, my little girl woke up. She come in there, and to keep her from thinking that I was totally out of my mind talking to somebody that wasn't there, I shut the tape recorder off. And just right after I got her back in the bed and turned the tape recorder on to listen, there was a clear, human-sounding voice that was saying, "Turn that off." And that just absolutely blew me away, and from there it's just dominoed.
Wow, that's I've never had any kind of major activity here except for, and a lot of folks don't know because I don't talk about the shadow person that walks up and down my hall at night, or the fact that you seem to have brought 50 people with you today. For those of you that are listening at home, we've had a severe problem getting this recording going because the spirits seem to like David so much that they follow him around a bit. And they don't like me so much. I don't know why. I guess it's my mean-spirited personality or something. But I've already whipped out the Bible and the anointing oil and pretty well asked nicely and somewhat rudely that they would please let us get this recording out. And so far they're obliging, but if you hear any pops or bumps or somebody talking that's not myself or David, it's because somebody else is here.
It's the real deal. It would be an EVP. I've already had one person already tonight call me by name, by my first name, while we were trying to get this thing started, while we were in the process of just testing the microphones. It turned out to be a small whisper, but whenever you go into it, listening to it closer, they're calling me by my name, my first name.
And I've never had that happen here in the old house/office. So let's hope that whenever David and Cindy, his wife, she's also here with us, our communications manager for the group, she's here with us. But let's hope that whenever they leave, that they take their friends with them, and I can get down to some good sleeping. But so this episode is going to be an EVP special. We're going to tell you everything about EVP, everything that we know, and we haven't had any write-in questions. We did have some good feedback over the week, but I'm sure we could muddle through and get some questions together, and we're going to do this for EVPs for Dummies. We're going to play you some samples of some EVP. We'll talk about the classification of EVP, and we'll go from there. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play our 2 commercials. And I know it's a little early in the program, so we'll go ahead and get it out of the way, and that way we can just get down to the brass tacks here. So just go ahead and have a listen to our sponsors. You should hear from this radio program, Georgia Paranormal Radio, asking if you need to make an advertisement or any of that good stuff. And then you should hear from our sponsoring team, the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team. And they're the ones who put on this good program for you every week. And if you need a paranormal investigation, get in touch with them. But you'll hear about all that in the commercial break. So we're going to take a little break here, and when you come back, we'll talk about EVP.
In 2006, the number of people in the United States was an estimated 299 million, and approximately 205 million of those people were online. Now let's suppose that just 1% or 2 million of those people listen to internet radio or podcasts. Let's further suppose that just 1% of that 1% are interested in the paranormal and listen to this program. That would be 20,000 listeners or potential customers hearing about your product, service, or website on every broadcast. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team and Georgia Paranormal Radio are homegrown organizations with a regional and now worldwide footprint. Trust us to promote your product, service, or website just like it was our own. Your success is our success. With rates at only $5 a month, guaranteed exposure on every broadcast, and no long-term commitments if you aren't completely satisfied, you can't go wrong. Can you afford not to advertise with us? For further information, email Mike Watkins at mike@nwgapit.com.
Do you have strange feelings while in your home or business? Do you hear unexplained noises or see something moving out of the corner of your eye, only to investigate and find nothing? Does your home or business have a history of paranormal or unexplained events? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team is ready to assist you. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team is a well-established and respected scientific paranormal research group. They adhere to strict non-metaphysical protocols to ensure that all evidence collected is valid and of the highest quality. Trust an established team to research and document your paranormal activity, then educate and empower you, the living. For more information, membership inquiries, or to request an investigation, visit us online at www.nwgapit.com or contact Mike Watkins at mike@nwgapit.com. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team. We investigate what you fear.
All right, we hope you enjoyed that rather long commercial break, or commercials break. And we got those out of the way so we can get on with the rest of the program here. We've had a little bit of a disruption in the program recording here. If you hear anything, like I said earlier, I don't remember if I said it earlier or not. We've had such an interesting night here, but I'll go ahead and say it again. If you hear anything in the background, any talking or anything like that going on, it's not David or I tonight. We seem to have energized something that's been laying dormant here in my household for a while, and I guess I don't have enough energy to make them manifest, but the first time you have company over, you never know what happens. So if you hear any disruptions tonight or hear any voices that aren't mine or aren't David's, then you're probably hearing the real deal, a real EVP, coming to you live from my office here in Lafayette, Georgia. And if anybody knows where I can sleep for the next few nights while they're all riled up and going to be tormenting me through the night, just give me a call. And David, if we can get past this disruption, we were talking about EVP, and you're kind of the group's EVP specialist in my mind. You're our operations manager, of course, but you've dealt a lot with EVP. And why don't you tell me a little bit about EVP and how you capture it and then how you get it on your computer if we wanted to do that.
Well, technically, it's very simple to catch an EVP. All you basically need is a tape recorder, whether it be the micro cassette, which handles a reel-to-reel tape, digital audio, or even a large style type recorder, the old type that plays the large cassette tapes. That's basically all you need in order to get started in capturing EVPs. All you basically have to do is turn it on, walk around the area. It helps if you talk to them, because basically you want to treat the spirit or the soul, whichever one you want to call it, the same as you would a living entity. You don't want to be too mechanical with it. You don't want to sound like something off of a bad B movie, like a seance or something like that. But, I mean, basically, you carry on a conversation with someone that's not there. You ask pertinent questions. Try not to get too broad with the questions. Who are you? Why are you here? Keep the questions simple. And if there is a spirit present that wants to communicate, then it will communicate over the recorder. And I'm a firm believer that if they want to communicate, it don't matter where you're at or how far away you are from that in particular entity, they will communicate with you. I have been on an investigation in the battlefield, matter of fact, with you, and I have picked up EVPs from a location in Summerville, Georgia, that I do a lot of EVP and photographic work at, which is the old Summerville Depot. There are numerous entities on that train that feel like they're trapped, they can't get off. And I have to deal with the issue of them telling me they want out to come and help them. That's something that happens all the time. And on my job, I work in the field of law enforcement. It got to a point at one time where I couldn't even use a tape recorder during my job. The EVPs were so many and actually pretty crystal clear about what their intentions was, what they wanted. So it can, if they are in tune with you, if you're a little bit more sensitive than the normal Joe walking down the street, and they find out that they can communicate with you, they are going to open that avenue and they're going to communicate with you.
Okay. Do you use now I personally use a Sony digital recorder. I have a Sony micro cassette recorder. I find that for me personally, the micro cassette gets a little too noisy without an external microphone. Do you think that you get better sound quality off of a digital or a micro cassette, or?
Well, personally, I use a digital recorder. I started off with the Sony ICD. Very good recorder, very good sound quality, but it downloads on the computer minute by minute. So if you've got 30 minutes worth of audio, it practically takes 30 minutes in order to download it on the computer. If you don't have a lot of time, then it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Aggravating, I guess I would want to say.
A time-consuming thing to download.
Exactly.
Right.
And what I've done is I've switched over to a different brand of recorder right now. I'm using the RCA, which is absolutely a great item. I mean, it records good. The microphone is so sensitive on this one particular model that I have that it will pick up a whisper at 100 feet just about. And it's got the USB capability to hook up and download to a computer, which means that it only takes roughly a minute to 2 minutes to download an hour's worth of audio. Personally, that's what I like. It's whatever the person that is trying to capture the EVP is more used to or more user-friendly, then that's what I suggest that they use. We have a lot of dyed-in-the-wool ghost hunters out there, for lack of a better word, that like to use nothing but cassette audio tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I found is that the cassette recorder produces a lot of internal noise. And if you don't have an external microphone leading off of that, then you're going to pick up more noise than you are anything else.
Absolutely.
And they work great with an external microphone. But then you get into the issue about having to pay for the tapes. You've got a lot of money invested in buying up bunches and bunches and bunches of audio tapes because you'll only use them once.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you capture an EVP, you sure don't want to get rid of it. You want to keep it. So that means you have to go right back out and buy another tape. So you've got the added expense of buying all these tapes. Then you've got the expense of buying a quality external microphone to go along with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just found that the digital audio recorder works best because once I save 100 to 200 of these EVPs on my computer, I can download them to a disk. It takes up a very small amount of space, which is something that cassette tapes don't do. You collect 100 or more cassette tapes and you've got a cardboard box full. So it just makes more sense to me to do it on digital. I can keep more on my computer. I can download them to something that I can store them in a smaller size. And like I said, the RCA recorder that I use, extremely good audio to it. There's not hardly any distortion to it. And the EVPs are extremely clear that come off of it.
And you have had some good EVPs. I guess, as you know, I'm a digital recorder, man, just because they're small and you can get a lot of, even on super high quality, 7 hours.
Yes.
An audio tape, you're going to get, 30 minutes, 60
right.
minutes?
And on some of the better known or better brands, you've got the folder option on there, which means that you've got 5 to 8 folders that you can record up to like an hour or hour and a half on each folder, and then once it gets full, you just switch over to another folder. And some of them, the in particular model that I have, is capable of recording up to 14 hours.
Wow. And my Sony, I think, will do about 7. But there's a big debate, and some of the die-hard old paranormal investigators say you should only use an analog recorder, a tape recorder. And, the secret is the minute you put them on your computer, you've just went digital.
Exactly. So you've actually altered the tape, and that's not a good thing if you're collecting evidence to prove the existence of the paranormal.
So why not just save yourself a step and go digital all the way?
Exactly.
It may be less credible, but if you're going to edit it in any way, amplify it, boost the sounds, then you're going to go digital. So you might as well save yourself a step. It's the same way with photography, and we'll have a show on photography here pretty soon. But, I used to work in the film business for a long time, and the diehard people there don't want you to get away from 35 millimeter. It's the best. Well, the minute you have those negatives burned onto a CD to look at on your computer, guess what you've done? You've went digital. So why not cut out the middleman and buy a digital camera? Take digital photography. Sure, you don't have a negative to back up your evidence, but if you have something that we all should have, you don't need a negative, and it's called integrity. So, with your digital, and plus, I don't know if anybody's looked at the price of film and film developing lately, but I'm not made of money. Digital's cheap.
And it's very expensive to have 35 millimeter film developed nowadays, but you got to remember too that digital photography has came a long way since they first came out.
Absolutely.
They are not the same thing that they came up with 20 years ago. You have a lot of features with these cameras that most of the more expensive 35 millimeter cameras don't have anymore.
Exactly.
And with the modern technology of computers, you can download programs on there in order to create your own negatives if you wish. You can go in, invert the colors, and basically produce the negative effect, and whatever is on the photograph will be on that reverse photograph.
Okay, well, we're talking about EVP this week, so we'll save the photo discussion for another time. But so let's just get right into the meat and potatoes while you're listening here. We want to talk about some EVP, and there's a class system to this. If I'm not mistaken, there's Class A, Class B, Class C, and did I miss any letters?
There's a new class that's come out on the market that some are pushing right now, which is called Class BX, which is basically the technology of reversing the speech pattern. So you've got a reversed recording that you're listening to, and it produces a B quality EVP forward and a B quality EVP backwards that is understandable. I'm not sure exactly how much I endorse that at the present time, but I've played with it a little bit, and there appears to be something to it.
Well, we were playing some EVPs, or I was playing some EVPs for David and Cindy earlier about what we'd got up at the battlefield last week, and we tinkered around with reversing them, and there's one or two that actually sound better, more understandable reversed than they do forward. So, there may just be something to that. You never know.
That's one of those things that's going to take a little bit more research to find out for sure.
And again, it is the paranormal, above normal, the unknown, mysteries, and there are no experts in this field, folks. So, playing around is still permitted. I don't think they've outlawed playing around yet in the paranormal community. When they do, I'll pass it along to you here. But right now, playing around is still fine. So just have a little fun with it. And we'll go ahead and get into the some EVPs. We're going to start with some, you could take them as Class B or Class C, and hopefully they'll come across well. And then we'll move into the Class A EVPs, which are the higher class EVPs, things that just walk up and whack you in the head. You don't need a computer to enhance them. You can hear them straight out of the box. And we'll go through that. We've got a couple, I guess we got about a dozen for you to hear here, and we'll play one. We'll loop it a couple of 3 times for you, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So just hold on to your seats and turn the lights on, and maybe you'll get a better night's sleep than I know I'm going to. So here comes the first EVP.
Something's behind us. Yes. Something's behind us. Yes. Something's behind us. Yes.
Okay. Now that was fairly interesting. That's a Class B or Class C EVP. You can make out part of it you can't make out. It's kind of rough, but tell me a little bit about that one, David. I think I was with you on that investigation.
Yes, actually you were. We were investigating an old house place in Somerville. The house is abandoned, has been for quite a number of years. It's falling apart, and it's still safe to go into, but still it's got openings and got drafts and everything else in it. And we were there doing a research on the house itself. We had gotten several good EVPs out of this house, several good photographs out of this house. And that particular night I had taken you there, and while we were walking through the house, my wife, Cindy, physically heard something, which would be, I guess, considered to be an AVP,
audible voice phenomenon. Yeah, we had an experience with that one too.
Yes, that's right. And after she heard this, listening to the tape recorder, we heard a sound that sounded similar to what a cat does, but we know it wasn't a cat because no one there heard a cat. And if you'll listen close enough, inside this noise is actually a voice. It's just very, very fast, very sped up. And if you'll slow it down, you can actually tell that there's words in this. So it wasn't actually a cat. It sounded similar to one, but it was actually something saying something.
Okay. Now, this next EVP is still going to be in that Class B, Class C range, kind of. So it's hard to hear here and there. You need a little enhancement, and hopefully we've got that squared away for you on enhancing it enough to broadcast it. And we're going to go ahead and play that one, and then we'll talk about it. All right, now that one is, it sounded like somebody was trying to get our attention, or your attention there. I don't think I was there with you on that one, but it sounded like somebody was trying to get your attention.
Yeah, basically, I think they were. Again, it was the same home place. It was just a different day, and we kept noticing that we saw shadows out of the corner of our eyes moving. We would hear things and turn around, and nothing would be there. And this was one of the EVPs that was captured while we were standing there. Something got our attention. We heard something. And as you can hear on the EVP, it sounds like it's saying, turn around. So I think it was trying to get our attention to basically let us know that it was there. And
that home place, the time I was there, and like you say, it is kind of run down, but it's still, safe. I demonstrated my tactical retreat procedure there, and because I saw something move, and I guess I had kind of dared it to do it, and then when it did it, I wasn't man enough to stand up and let it answer its dare. So I demonstrated the tactical retreat, which if you haven't seen me do that before, you folks need to, because it's pretty funny seeing somebody as big as me move that fast.
And he can move pretty fast when he wants to.
They need to put me on the bomb squad as a warning person. If you see me running, follow. Because, I can move pretty quick. and I've done it before. I've been run out of cemeteries before. That's a different story for a different show, though. This next EVP that we're going to play for you is still in that Class B to C range. And we'll go ahead and play that for you, loop it a couple of times, and then we'll have a little bit of commentary. It's just like listening to a DVD commentary here, folks. We talk about everything we do. So here comes the EVP.
What is your name? I feel you with me now. What is your name? I feel you with me now. What is your name? I feel you with me now.
All right, now this one's actually interacting a little bit here, asking a question. It sounded like, David.
It was asking basically, how did you find me? And as I stated earlier in the show, I guess that I'm just a little bit more sensitive about picking things up than the average Joe, but it was one of those occasions where you could feel it. The hair on the back of your neck stood up, hair on your arm stand up, and you know that you're not alone. And basically, they wanted to know how I knew they were there, I think. But, the main thing that I always try to stress on people that want to get into this is always follow your instincts. The human animal has survived for hundreds of thousands of years, and it's basically been on instinct that they survived. You have a sort of a born with instinct to know when something is right and when it's wrong. And if you get into a situation where somebody's watching you, I mean, how many times have you ever felt like you were being watched, just to turn around and look and see somebody that you didn't know was there staring at you?
Many times.
And it's basically the same thing in looking for the paranormal. You will get strange feelings, something that you haven't occurred or felt, quite often. The skin on your arms will stand up, hair on the back of your neck will stand up. You just got that feeling that something's there, but when you turn around and look, it's not there.
Absolutely.
And you have to trust your instincts. Whenever you start getting those type of responses, it's time to start looking for something. There's something there.
And that's that's always been my encounter. I'm more of a Chickamauga battlefield expert. I mean, I have clocked hundreds of hours in that battlefield. Used to, you could be out there at night, and the Rangers pretty well wouldn't say anything to you. And now, of course, as I've said before, people being stupid, doing things they shouldn't do, vandalizing, and just being idiots has ruined it for everybody, because, we as paranormal investigators are not going to go out and tear up the places we investigate.
Absolutely not.
People may think we're crazy, but we have better sense than to vandalize our investigation scenes. And but in the battlefield, there have been many times, day and night, where I have felt like 1,000 eyes were staring at the back of my skull. And maybe they were.
Well, there's been instances where I've been at the battlefield where you can actually hear footsteps behind you, and you turn around and there's nothing there. You can be walking along some of the paths up there, going up to some of the cannons and areas up through there that's inside the wood line up there, and you can hear rustling in the trees inside the wood line, and stop, and there'll be absolutely nothing there. And later on, whenever you come back and you play your tape recorder, you have multiple EVPs from things that just wasn't there.
And of course, the battlefield is just, there was such a slaughter there. And we've talked a lot about the battlefield here, and it's one of my favorite places. But I try to get back up there every time I can. And it's getting more and more dangerous, though, to go up there, especially, at night. You can't be in there at night, number one. You'll go to federal jail. And number two, there have been a lot of car break-ins up there here lately. And so people have really ruined the battlefield for us. But it's a very interesting place to be. But I digress, and we'll move on to another EVP here. And this one should be pretty interesting. And then we'll go ahead and play that and loop for you a couple of times, and we'll talk about that one. And, I said we were going to quit talking about the battlefield, and here we have an EVP from the battlefield. That one, David, it sounded again like another interactive spirit, and it was saying, "Show me what you're doing."
Well, you've got two different types of classifications. You've got an intelligent haunting, and you have a residual haunting. Residual is basically like playing a tape recorder over and over and over and over. It's something that was the person was under either deep stress or had some type of real high stress, or some type of event that occurred in their life that was so profound that it was basically etched in time. And on a intelligent haunting, you have actually a spirit that is still there and able to interact and to communicate with you.
And we've encountered many of both types. And an EVP that I didn't play that we'd got up at Snodgrass, I shared with David, because it's the same exact person as two that he's recorded at the same location in the park.
Exact same voice. And
this time it may have been a bit different. It was hard to hear, it's hard to analyze because it's such a short snippet and it's very low quality, but I believe the person recognized what I was doing. And so this haunting that may be there may not actually be a haunting at all. It may be an intelligent spirit
that is still there.
That's still there, and that's impressive. It's good to corroborate evidence like that, to know that he has got two EVPs from there months and months ago, and then at a later time I can go up there without David present and get the same voice talking about the same things.
And he's got a very distinctive voice. He
has a very distinctive voice, if it's even a he. It may be picking it up as a little deeper than it should or whatever. I don't know, but it's a very distinctive voice, and we'll actually let you hear that voice here in a little bit, because it's what David had caught was a good Class A EVP, and but we'll play that. We'll get to those good things here in a little bit. This next EVP that we're going to cover is going to be, I think we got this down in Carrollton, David, and I'll go ahead and play this for the good folks there. We'll loop it a couple of 3 times, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, now that is that a woman's voice I heard?
It appears to be female. We were at the Carrollton Mansion. We had ate there and met with a group, and we're fixing to go on a small ghost hunt at a meal site that was located in Carrollton. And the host, the owner of the restaurant, was kind enough to take us upstairs, give us a brief history, which, he believes that the place is haunted too.
Absolutely.
When we got upstairs, actually caught sight of something moving in one of the small rooms, went up and was investigating that whenever this EVP was captured. And basically it sounds like a female saying there's a man in there.
Yeah, and I was with, there were 5 of us, I believe, that went down that night. And just a plug for our friends, not just my friends, our friends, the ladies down at Ghost Rider Investigation Team out of Carrollton. I talk to them quite frequently, Betania and Cindy and Juanita and Brenda.
Yes.
And I talk to Betania and Cindy more than I do anybody else, but they showed us a good time. We had a good investigation down there with them, and they're a top-notch team.
Absolutely.
And I love them to death. They're sweethearts. And their 5th member they had along with them, I never can remember, April? Was her name April?
She was basically an intern, and to be honest with you, I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name, but she was kind of an intern, kind of a member in training. And but anyway, she was a sweetheart too. But just a quick plug to those good folks. We still love y'all.
And you know that there's a website with a mansion on it.
Yeah, there's what is it, Bob's Mansion?
Bob's Mansion.
Yeah, Bob's Mansion. If you search, if you go on the Google and search for Bob's Mansion in Carrollton, Georgia, you will find about their haunted history there.
They've got a lot of good information about the family that lived in that house that first built it. And actually, one of the photographs that I captured that night, standing out in the parking lot, appears to be the face and portion of body from one of the females that's sponsored in this website.
Absolutely. And what was her name again, David?
Her name was Eugenia.
Eugenia. I can't remember that. I was thinking about the deep-fried pickles that we had that night. That was, if you never had deep-fried pickles, folks, whew, that was good. But, yeah, we had a great time down in Carrollton. And so now this next EVP that we're going to play is, it's open to interpretation, folks. That's what these Class Bs and Class Cs are. You can't nail down 100% what they say. If you could, then they would be a Class A EVP. And this next one we'll play for you, and we'll talk about that. All right, now what I'm hearing in this EVP is I'm not through with you, or I'm not through here. Is that what you got, Dave?
It's one of the two, and to be honest with you, I can't sit here and tell you which one. It is definitely recognizable as a human-style voice. There's definitely words in there, but it's unfortunately unclear exactly at the last which one they're actually saying, which is why we put it in the classification we did. If you can hear it without having to sit there and do something on the computer to enhance it or anything like that, if you can tell exactly what it's saying, that's why it's listed as a Class A. This one right here was not that clear. It's why I listed it in a lower class.
Okay. And that's, people may be scoffing at the classification system and say, well, an EVP is an EVP. Well, that may be true, but I personally am not going to put anything that's a Class C EVP on the website to display to the world, because yes, we do have a reputation, and yes, I care about that, but it also opens the doors to the skeptics, and that's why we classify them into best, better, and good, and that's the reason why. Now, if you're collecting EVP and you don't want to classify yours and just take it as an EVP, as an EVP, as an EVP, then that's fine. That's what works for you, and this is what works for us. Now we've got one more kind of a Class B, Class C EVP, and this is only Class B because of background noise. And background noise is very important. A lot of people are better at filtering it out than I am. And this one was, I believe it was in the Somerville Cemetery, David. And we'll play it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, feel how cold it is and just getting colder.
Please get out.
Yeah, feel how cold it is and just getting colder.
Please get out.
Yeah, feel how cold it is and just getting colder.
Please get out.
Yeah, so that's from Somerville Cemetery. We've had a lot of good experiences there. Well, and some bad experiences there.
Good and bad.
You
We've
know,
had both.
I've been whacked in the head. David's been.
I've had a cup of coffee knocked out of my hand.
Yeah, and then we've been told audibly, get out.
Yeah, 3 people actually heard that one particular night, and it wasn't no mistake about what they said either.
And, again, the Watkins patented tactical retreat.
Well, I won't let you take the full force of that one, because I think my exact words was, we're going to respect their wishes. And
Yes.
we left.
Yes.
After that, get out. We left.
And if something's strong enough to tell you to get out, folks, a little, a nickel's worth of free advice here, get out. I mean, if something's talking to you out loud and it's not there, there's a good chance it can do more.
And if they've got enough energy that they can actually physically be heard, they can physically do something to you if they wish.
Yeah. And see, I've always been the kind who's been afraid that they're going to, drain my car battery. And then leave me stuck in a cemetery in the middle of the night. And
as long as they don't take my feet from me, I can still run.
Yeah. My flashlight, drain my flashlight and my car battery and leave me in there in the middle of the night, in the middle of the dark. Oh, dear Lord. That would be scary. So that's the kind of the Class C and the Class B. And what we're going to get into next, I know I said we were going to do both commercials back there, and we did, but with all the activity we've had here tonight at the office, I'm going to go ahead and insert just one more little commercial break here, and just so I can wet my whistle a little bit and take a deep breath, and I'll see you on the other side of this break. I promise I won't stick any more in here than I have to. And we'll be back in just about a minute after this break.
Do you have strange feelings while in your home or business? Do you hear unexplained noises or see something moving out of the corner of your eye, only to investigate and find nothing? Does your home or business have a history of paranormal or unexplained events? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team is ready to assist you. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team is a well-established and respected scientific paranormal research group. They adhere to strict non-metaphysical protocols to ensure that all evidence collected is valid and of the highest quality. Trust an established team to research and document your paranormal activity, then educate and empower you, the living. For more information, membership inquiries, or to request an investigation, visit us online at www.nwgapit.com or contact Mike Watkins at mike@nwgapit.com. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team. We investigate what you fear.
Alright, we're back from that break. I'm sorry I stuck that in there, folks, but boy, I feel better now. Had a nice drink of tea and feel so much better now. So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here, the Class A EVP. And this is on that scale of good, better, best. These are the best. And some of them might be a low Class A, and some might argue there is no low Class A. There's only Class A, Class B, or Class C. Well, there's a gray area for me and everything. So some of them might be lower Class A. Some of you might classify them as Class B. But, we're playing them, you're not. So, you don't like it, live with it. So the first one we're going to play here is from one of my favorite locations. We've been there several times, and it's Alpine Cemetery. And things have not really been the same. They had some vandalism there, and things haven't really been the same since. But this one's going to be from Alpine Cemetery. That's here in Georgia, and we're going to go ahead and play that. We'll loop it for you a 3 times, and we'll talk about it.
Too busy watching where I'm going. Too busy watching where I'm going. Too busy watching where I'm going.
Now, it sounds like this person is having a conversation with another spirit or something, David, and it's very clear. It says they might be watching where I'm going, or they're watching where I'm going, something like that.
I have had many occasions where I've laid a tape recorder down in an empty room and walked off, and actually picked up what sounds like conversations between 2 or more people. They do interact. They communicate with each other. And in this one particular case, it sounds like, they were a little bit on the weird side that we might find out where they were.
Now that's I've also encountered some where you'll hear it's like they're conversing amongst themselves, and I find that interesting that maybe they can talk.
Actually, if you want to get down to it, we've encountered that tonight.
Yeah, I didn't want to get down to that, but David's alluding again to the activity here, and we'll go ahead and interject this. I'm not an old man, but I'm not a young man. I don't have the energy that I used to have when I was a kid, and I live alone. There's no kids in my house, and there haven't been children in this house since I was a child. And it seems that children have a way of energizing things, and my good buddy David here brought in 2 Energizer cells and stuck them in my living room tonight, which they're more than welcome to be in my house anytime they want. David and his family are close friends, and I think of all of them as close friends and family even, and they're welcome here anytime they want. But David plugged in 2 batteries in the house tonight.
It wasn't on purpose. I didn't intend to do it, and didn't think about what I was doing to begin with. But it became very apparent after we arrived that the 2 children that we brought into this house, and you may agree with me, you may not agree with me, but one thing that I've noticed working in the paranormal field is that if an external energy source is given, whether it be emotions or other, a spirit can draw off of that energy.
Absolutely.
And become either more physically able to communicate or to interact, whichever one it happens to be. And the emotion that they're feeding off of also depends on how active they become.
Mm-hmm.
Anger, hate is a very strong emotion that they can draw enormous amounts of energy from. But again, we're talking about children who are a never-ending source of energy. The only time they're ever quiet or still is when they're asleep, and they're really not that quiet or still when they're asleep. But once they become dormant, they go into that rest mode, and they are laying in their beds, having visions of nightmares or dreams, whichever one happens to come up first. I've found that a lot of spirit activity actually occurs in a child's bedroom. Their little imaginary friends that they talk about so much may not be so imaginary. I have a total of 5 children. All my children have had imaginary playmates throughout the years. However, my youngest 2, Kiana and Laramie, have had some very interesting playmates, some that we've actually caught having conversations with them in their room. No one there other than them. And that's one of the things that got me started into the EVP field. Was nightmares that they were having, conversations they were carrying on. And after initially finding out that we possibly wasn't alone in the house, there was many nights that I left a tape recorder going in their bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you may find out that the imaginary playmates are not so imaginary. There was a lot of conversation. There was nights where they would have nightmares. You could hear a female calming them down, saying, it's okay. There's conversations where somebody would get loud. They would get restless in their sleep. Again, they would be calmed down. it's amazing at what you will pick up in a child's bedroom at night with a recorder.
And, I remember, it seems like a long time ago, but I remember as a child, I would see things and hear things, and then my parents, Lord love them, would tell me I wasn't seeing it and I wasn't hearing it.
Well, you've got to remember, when a child is growing up, they haven't been told that there is no such thing as spirits, ghosts, monsters, whatever you want to call them.
Absolutely.
And they're more receptive to communication from the people that are no longer here.
Absolutely.
A child's skull does not harden until they reach the age of 8 to 10 years of age, which means that it's easier for them to perceive and to receive, things from other places, other times, whatever you want to call it. But they're more susceptible to it because it's not been drilled in their head countless and countless times that no such thing exists. So, basically, they're looking through the eyes of a child. They're innocent. Innocent
eyes, absolutely. And with that being said, we're going to talking about children. This next EVP, I know the first time that I caught what I thought was a child's voice on EVP was kind of unnerving.
More than unnerving, it's one of those things where you don't really expect.
Yeah.
You think about grown people passing away all the time, old people passing away, but something you don't actually stop to think about is that babies and small children also pass away too.
Absolutely. And, in our area, and well, anywhere in America, typhoid fever,
exactly.
Yellow fever, cholera.
There were several epidemics that run through our area here back in the early to mid 1900s that claimed the lives of hundreds and hundreds of children.
Absolutely. But like David said, you don't think about that. You think about grandma and grandpa and somebody dying in a car wreck, and then all of a sudden you get an EVP like this one we're about to play you right now. And this was from the an old house that we've talked about before, and listen to what this child says. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I'm, as if I wasn't going to sleep with the lights on already tonight for other reasons, that's kind of chilling to hear a child say, "I'm just little." And David, you caught that one there at that old homestead there in Somerville.
That's correct.
And, wow.
Well, like I said, it's kind of unnerving because it's not something you actually sit down and think about when you're going into an investigation, that you may cross the path of a small child. There's been on many occasions where we've done investigation in cemeteries and heard the voice of children, and it's something that will make you stand back and go, "Boy, I wasn't expecting that."
Absolutely. Now, this next EVP is from a church, and it actually kind of makes sense to think that that these spirits or whatever they are may go back to a church because they're looking for the salvation that they didn't find, or that they didn't get what they expected, basically.
Exactly.
Or
it's a safe refuge.
And I'm not saying that with religion you don't get what you expect. I don't mean that at all. I just say that there are things in this world that we don't understand, and for some reason churches are quite active. So we're going to go ahead and play this one right here, and this is from a church in our region. I'm not going to tell you where it's at, and then we'll talk about it.
And they're willing to and they're willing to and they're willing to
Okay, so that says, can you hear him talking, or can you hear him talk?
Yeah, basically it was one of those situations where I was by myself again. There was absolutely nobody around, no one that could have uttered these words other than from, some spirit that happened to be present. But basically to me it just says, can you hear him talk? wanting to know, could anybody else that might happen to be on that particular plane she was in hear me?
Yeah. Now, David talks about being by himself a lot, and there's a reason for that. You know, as a leader of the group and a founder and general manager, you know, one of our safety protocols is you don't do this alone. David has a good excuse to do this by himself because, as he said earlier, he works in law enforcement, and a lot of times he gets called out to places where he is by himself, and he has the option of, while he's there performing his duty, to run a recorder in the background, maybe just in his shirt pocket. I mean, he's not investigating at work, but he has that option.
Basically, I always carry a tape recorder with me wherever I work. One, because it's good evidence. I mean, if you happen to come across something that you're going to need it for. And two, it's for personal safety reasons. As sue-minded as people have gotten in this day and time, they are all the time making accusations against police officers that they've said or done things that they should not have done. And to me, it's basically an insurance policy. I always carry a tape recorder. And if by chance I happen to pick up something while I'm at someplace that is from the paranormal world, then, you know, it's just a little bit of added bonus.
It's a perk.
It keeps me out of federal court, and it keeps me busy at home listening to the recordings.
Absolutely. And, fortunately, I mean, I work in law enforcement also, but I have a partner who's always there with me. You know, 95% of the time, I'm with my partner, he's with me. And of course, we work inside of a law enforcement establishment. But, there's still that threat for federal lawsuits. Now, I don't carry a recorder because I can't. But, I envy David sometimes for his ability to always have a recorder on him. But we'll move on from that, and we're going to talk about back up at the Chickamauga bottle
pad. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I may just leave that one in there for you folks. You don't know how much editing goes into this program, and I may just leave that in there for you to get a little snicker out of. This is going to be from the Chickamauga battlefield, and this is from one of my favorite spots up there. Oh, heck, I love the whole place. I don't have a favorite spot. If it's inside the park, it's my favorite spot. So this is from John Ingram's grave. David got this while he was there with Cindy, and it actually prompted me to go back a day or two later, and I got a very
good Class A EVP.
Well, it might actually be, it's Class A, it might be Class B, and it says, well, you know what? I'll play that one for you too. I'm going to add that to my list right now of what we're playing, and I'm just going to squeeze that right in here. But we're going to play this one for you here while I'm taking a note, and see if you can see, or hear, rather, what this young lady's saying about John Ingram's grave. So, now, David, you were up there with Cindy.
Actually, I was there with my family.
Your whole family?
It's one of the places that I like taking my family to because they get out and get to run, play, have a good time. And it gives me some time in the field, so to speak, do some EVP work, and it's just a good time for all.
And she, this woman, you catch this EVP, you didn't hear this at the time you were recording. It wasn't an AVP, an audible.
No, we didn't hear anything at all until later on whenever I was playing the tape back.
And this woman is talking about he's not in the grave.
They're referring to John Ingram.
Yeah.
They're referring to John Ingram not being in the grave. Very sorrowful.
You know, the interesting thing is, David, and you didn't know this, and I didn't know this until I did a little research, they moved John Ingram's body back in the 60s.
Because of vandalism.
Because of relic hunters and vandalism. And technically, John Ingram is not in that grave.
Well, that's something that's not general knowledge.
That is not general knowledge. So, you're visiting an empty grave.
You can tell by the sound of the voice that it appears to be female.
Yeah.
And they are in grief.
Absolutely.
And they are basically telling you that he's no longer in his grave.
Yeah. Like she doesn't know where he's at.
Exactly.
So that's pretty good. So that actually prompted me to go back a couple of days later, and I happened to be up Chickamauga and Fort Oglethorpe Way, and all I had with me was my cell phone, which is why this recording quality is horrible. Cell phones are wonderful things, but the recording quality is horrible. And then I got this EVP.
Is there anyone here who would like to communicate with us? Is there anyone here who would like to communicate with us? Is there anyone here who would like to communicate with us?
Okay, now, that's, wow, get out of here.
That's something that if you're dealing with EVPs, evidently there's a manual somewhere for the dead.
I think there is a manual. We get it a lot.
Yeah, we get it an awful lot. Get out of here, get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is standard with EVP. If you're just a beginner, get used to it because you're going to be told to get out.
Yeah, it's like I get it a lot, which is why I say they don't like me because they're always telling me to leave. And this one I don't think was a malicious. I mean, it wasn't like a threatening get out of here. I think that this guy, whoever it was reliving part of that battle. And maybe he thought I was walking into the middle of a battlefield because Ingram is buried on a skirmish line in that park.
That's correct.
So maybe it was not a threatening get out of here. Maybe it was a get out of here before you get shot kind of thing. Maybe I was the ghost in his battle.
Well, if you remember correctly, shortly after that
Mm-hmm.
is when I picked up the EVP of, it looks like we're going to have to shoot you.
Yeah.
And the sound of a gunshot.
Absolutely. And that was over towards Wilder's Tower.
Good.
And unfortunately, I don't have that to share with you good folks. It was a good one, though. David actually played that one for me over the phone while I was at work, and I about fell out of my chair.
Well, it took me by surprise also.
Whew.
Sound of the gunshot's what done me, because there was absolutely,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a federal park here.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no firearms allowed on this place at all.
No.
And at no time was there sound of gunshots anywhere. But it's clearly heard. You can, we might have to shoot you, and then all of a sudden the sound of a rifle, it sounds. And a muzzle-loading rifle at that, because there was actually two distinctive sounds.
Mm-hmm.
One of the primer being struck and one of the gun going off.
Yeah, it's
very amazing.
It was amazing. And we're running a little long here, folks. I apologize for taking so much of the time here, and hopefully you're enjoying the show. We just got a couple of more EVPs to cover here with you, so stay awake with us, and just hold on, because we're almost done. And to our server company, yeah, we're running long. What are you going to do about it? So this next EVP, this comes from the train down there in Somerville, Georgia.
Which is one of my favorite spots. I spent a lot of time at that depot.
Yeah, I love that place. It's we've had some training exercises there.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to talk about that, but
we've had some interesting things happen while we were there.
We've had some great things happen there. You and I went on board the train.
Oh, yes.
And hot as an oven.
108 degrees when we first got in there.
Yeah, remind me not to go on a train in summer again, would you? That's
but they were very gracious and actually cool things down.
Yes, we did. We had a conversation with whomever was there, and said, hey, would you mind using a little bit of this hot air to do your thing and give us a little air conditioning. Believe it or not, it dropped, about 10, 15 degrees?
It dropped all the way down to 96 degrees.
Yeah.
And we were doing temperature readings elsewhere in the train by laser technology.
Yep, laser.
And the temperature everywhere else was staying between 108 and 106, but where we were at was down to about 96 degrees.
It was very gracious of them. That was very nice of those good people. And we had some good conversation with them, and
we have been scared there.
Oh my, yeah. It's a special place, folks. I don't encourage you to go down there without first consulting with city employees, because trespassing is an issue unless you have permission. Fortunately, we do.
Well, you can go to the train trestle, or not to the train trestle. Scratch that. You can go to the train depot at any time that you want to. Walk around it, take a look at the surroundings. The trains themselves are locked.
Yeah.
With lock and key. You can't get on them without special permission. But it's just one of those special places. And the last time that we were there, Mike, on the inside of that train depot, we actually had a small child's handprint.
Yeah.
That appeared in dust.
Yeah.
Almost in front of us.
We've got photo of that. I was testing out my new Sony with night vision on it, and got a really good night vision shot of this little child's handprint. Reviewing the pictures that we had taken earlier in that place, showed that there were no handprints anywhere near there.
And there were no children with us.
No children at all. There was 5 or 6 adults. Yeah, somewhere around there.
And the next day, I actually, myself, got a photograph of what appears to be a small child's reflection in a window right under where the handprint appeared.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll quit talking about it now and let you hear what we hear when we're down there. This is kind of one of those, it's in the manual, folks, the manual for the newly departed.
Yep.
And here's what it says. Yeah, so there you go. There you have it. Again, it's not a get out, it's a get back. I guess we were kind of crowding him on the train.
But if you listen to the context that it's given in, he was agitated.
Oh yeah, he was not a happy camper.
No, he wanted us to get out.
And you encounter that sometimes. There's 1 or 2 folks down there at that train who are less than hospitable. The majority of spirits that are there are very gracious, very talkative, very gracious. I think they appreciate the attention we give them, to be honest with you.
The only thing that they can't do is leave that train for whatever reason.
And we've got, it's not a good enough quality to play on this program, but you had gotten an EVP down there before of something about they tied us up.
Yes, and don't know where that could have come from.
That is, good Lord, are we talking about a robbery, a hijacking? We don't know. We don't know the history of the train cars.
Right.
The city down there has just got those train cars for tourist reasons. And, who knows, 50 years ago, somebody may have hijacked those train cars, tied all those people up, killed them. Who knows? So anyway, we love that train area, and we have good access to that right now. And this will be our last EVP we're going to play. And this is a very good Class A EVP. This is the piece de resistance of our collection. Even more so now, because as I talked about before, it's been corroborated by a separate person than originally collected this EVP series, which was David, who originally captured it, 4, 5, 6 months ago. I went back last week, and I got the same person's voice.
It was the same person. It sounds exactly like the same person.
Very distinctive voice.
I believe that we have captured that voice on tape, 3 times?
3 times.
Once, the recording that I got about fire again, pull the lever.
Which is going to be this EVP.
And then once you captured it at the cabin.
Yes.
And once close to the cabin, but it was always the same voice.
It's always the same voice. So we'll quit talking about it. We kind of gave you a spoiler there. The piece de resistance of our EVP collection thus far, from the Chickamauga battlefield, Snodgrass Hill battle line. All right, so like David had said, and you can hear it, it's not really a spoiler because it was going to spoil itself for you there in about 5 seconds. Fire again, pull the lever. That's a distinctive voice, David.
Very distinctive.
You can make out what it says, and plus, that's a weird sounding voice for some reason.
It sounds like a middle-aged to elderly type person under stress.
Absolutely. Oh, very much stress. I guess a battle would do that to you.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you got bullets whizzing around your head, I imagine you'd be pretty stressed out.
So, this voice, though, is something that I captured at the cabin. And you can't make it out too well. You only got 1 or 2 words from him, but it's that same voice. And that amazes me.
Again, that goes back into the intelligent haunting.
Intelligent haunting. So, we've reclassified that from a haunting to an intelligent haunting. This person recognizes people.
Yes.
And he knew what we were doing.
And will interact.
And I would play you a good EVP that I got out of Snodgrass Hill, but like I talked about last week, it's rather inappropriate. I played the one for you of me thanking the fella and him thanking me for thanking him.
Occasionally spirits do cuss.
Yeah, spirits use profanity, I guess, as in life, as in death, eh? Yeah. So, fortunately, you've not heard us tonight. So, maybe there's some spirits that have done it for us.
Is a miracle.
Yeah, God bless Audacity editing program, because you don't hear what you shouldn't hear. So, that's the end of our EVP session for the night. I got 1 or 2 more questions for David, and that's something that's a real big debate here, and I know how I feel about it. And that is, when you're talking to these people, these spirits, do you call them spirits? What if they don't know they're dead, David?
A lot of times, brother, the conversations they carry on, and sometimes they'll tell you that I'm not dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't consider themselves to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But, a spirit that doesn't know that he's dead is basically going to act the same that he did when he was alive.
Right.
He's going to try to go the same places. He's going to try to do the same things that he did while he was alive. And once they find out that they are no longer living, they can tend to get a little agitated.
Absolutely. And I don't know that I want to be the one to agitate them.
No. I've been on that receiving end, and so have you.
Absolutely.
You've been on that receiving end.
I've been whacked in the head plenty of times. That was just for tripping over a tombstone. I could just imagine dropping a bombshell about, hey, Johnson, you're dead. Ooh.
I'm wondering how hard it would be to actually convince them that they are dead.
Well, if they try to, hit you and their hand flies right through you, maybe. Maybe if they're not focused their energy enough, That's a little bit of Hollywood there, but you never know.
Right.
We don't know. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for a while. But, so that's always something I've always wondered. I know what I do. Sometimes I make the mistake, though, still, of saying, is there any spirit here who would like to communicate with me? Now I'm having to retrain myself to say, is one here? Such a smaller word, and it's very politically correct for the living impaired.
Well, like I stated earlier, I basically carry on a conversation like I would you.
Yeah.
I try not to make it too mechanical, but I in the same breath, I try not to make it too broad of an area, too broad of a question in order to answer something that's simple that they can answer. But, you can treat it like an old B-movie seance if you want to,
mm-hmm.
and make it as mechanical as you want to.
Right.
But I found that I get a lot better response just talking with them like I'm talking to somebody that's alive, still sitting right here with me.
Well, and I've heard other people discuss too, you talk about the B-movie. How are you going to react? If I was to walk up to you, David, and stick a recorder in your face and say, is there any spirit here who can talk to me? How do you feel about being dead? You're going to think I'm an idiot. Dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
You're going to think I'm an idiot. So, you might try talking to them with a little respect and treating them like somebody, because they are somebody. Or were.
Somebody.
I mean, they were somebody, and they're still spirits. And, if they were human, they still deserve human respect.
Well, the thing about it is they're still capable of showing emotion.
Absolutely.
And they can convey that emotion by what they say, how they say it, and they can let you know that they're sorrowful, that they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some emotions there, even after you're, no longer of this life.
Yeah.
And if you tend to tick them off, or if you treat them like they're a child and they're an adult,
yeah,
I mean, they're going to display that whenever they do communicate with you.
Yeah, that's they take their cue from you a lot of times.
Exactly.
And if you go in with a very negative or nasty attitude, you're going to get treated the same way, or you're not going to get anything at all.
The time that I got the cup of coffee knocked out of my hand, it was because somebody that was with me was, acting like a moron.
Yeah, you never want to have somebody horseplaying.
Exactly.
When you're in a situation investigating.
They were showing a lack of respect, and I think it's their way of getting our attention and let us know they didn't appreciate
Absolutely. When I got smacked in the head the first time, I say the first time, it taught me a valuable lesson because I tripped over someone's tombstone, and I let fly with a couple of choice words that would probably make a sailor blush, and whomever it was did not appreciate that I was using that kind of language in their presence, and they smacked me in the head hard enough to knock my hat off my head. And I quickly apologized, did the patented Watkins retreat, and got the heck out of Dodge. Sorrowfully got the heck out of Dodge, and learned a lesson.
Well, the thing about it is, even if they become upset at you, the cemetery we're talking about is Somerville Cemetery.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the absolute greatest cemeteries that I've ever been into as far as EVP collection and photographs.
Absolutely.
I've got some astounding photographs from this area, but I mean, once you get back in there and you apologize and let them know that it was not your intention for someone to, disgrace where they stayed.
Absolutely.
Then, they will become to the point where they'll be cooperative again.
They're very gracious people.
Exactly.
They are. They're very, and I really love that place too. It's a very classy cemetery.
It's like Leon.
Like Leon, yeah. David's daughter actually started talking to this fella. Now every time I go there, I speak to him too. But you can tell me more about that, David. I just say hi and he says hi.
Well, Leon is one of the few people there whose graves are not easily recognized.
No.
It's hid by a bunch of shrubbery, and if you didn't know it was there, you would never expect to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter accidentally found it. Didn't know it was there, but my daughter that was with me one night accidentally found it and started to talking to, we'll call him Leon, and actually started talking to him, and he responded on tape.
Yeah.
Responded back with her. And we make it a point every time that we go there to talk with him, to let him know that he's not forgotten. And a lot of times he will respond.
Yeah, he's. I spoke to him, and David had showed me where his plot was there, and I spoke with him, and I told him if it's all right with you, every time I'm here now, I'll speak to you. And then after I get done saying that, he says, "Okay." A man of few words with me. And right. Then the next time I went back, it was the time that we got audibly told to get out by a voice. It wasn't Leon's voice. But anyway, I went over and talked to him. And sure enough, when I said hi, he said hi back. So, I've got a little bit of a rapport with the fella now just because I knew where he was at.
Well, again, my daughter started it. She accidentally found a gravesite that was hidden.
Yeah.
And she went up and she wanted to speak with him to just let him know that she knew he was there. And at the end of the conversation, you can hear a man's voice saying, "Thank you."
Oh, love it. They're gracious people down there. Somerville's a good town for the dead and the living. But, yeah, we're schmoozing Somerville. We love them. And plus, they pay my check. So... So that's about all we've got as far as the EVP special tonight. We've had an active night here at the house, and David and the folks got here about 4 hours ago. It's taken that long to get this program out because of some subtle interruptions and some rather unsubtle interruptions by whomever or whatever has got re-energized tonight by the Energizer batteries. So... we know we've ran long tonight, and I know I've kept David up here longer than he probably wanted to be in Lafayette. And I will say this, though, before we leave. Last week I played some special outro music, and only one person knew what it was, and that was none other than David Westbrooks. He knew that was Brent Spiner, and the backup singers were Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, and Michael Dorn, which of course are the male cast of
Star Trek.
The Next Generation.
The Next Generation. But they were also known as the Sunspots.
The Sunspots, yeah. Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek, put out an album. He has a pretty good voice, actually. And that was the one song he did with Brent Spiner and the Sunspots, and called It's a Sin to Tell a Lie. And the reason they called themselves the Sunspots, partly, was obvious for, obvious reasons, and number two, because that song was originally done by the Ink Spots. So, there's your little musical trivia for the night, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because we've eat up a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time here, and I'm going to let David get his kids home and in the bed. So, from Lafayette, Georgia, from Georgia Paranormal Radio, this has been Mike Watkins and
David Westbrook.
And we wish you a happy night, and we'll get back on track here next week, and hopefully you'll stay tuned. Good night, everybody.